Welcome to the With Winning in Mind podcast. I'm Heather Sumlin with Troy Bassham today, and we are interviewing Monique Evans. Monique has been Miss Texas America in 2014, Miss Florida USA in 2020. She's been a pharmaceutical sales rep. She has a degree from UT. She's now currently married. She's also a ballerina at age 30. So we're going to talk to her a little bit, and some of the things that you're going to hear is information from her years as Miss Texas and Miss Florida, some information on how did she handle the pressure, the stress of being in pharmaceutical sales, and how does she handle being a ballerina for 28 years of her life. Welcome, Monique. We're so excited to have you here today. I can't wait to talk to you. It's been a little while since we chatted last. So maybe tell our listeners, viewers, how we met. Maybe that's a good place to start.
Well, first of all, it's so good to see you guys today. I'm coming from Colorado, so normally I'd have palm trees, but now I have pine trees. We first met back when I was in Texas. I was going to the University of Texas, preparing for Miss Texas, and that's when I first got to meet Heather. And let me tell you, I'm so blessed that our paths crossed, because I think it's 10 years later. I don't even know. It's a long time that has passed, but we have gone through the Texas system, the Miss America system, competed for Miss Florida USA, and Heather has been there every step of the way. And I feel grateful.
What's something that we talk a lot about the mental game. Our whole concept here is with winning in mind and trying to help people mentally prepare for competition in life too. So what are some ways in which you remain maybe mentally grounded or mentally tough in your life? Are there any things that you want to explain?
Oh, well, I'll jump into the pageant world a little bit, because that's where I first learned about mental toughness and mental management and what that actually meant. And I would say one of the biggest things that I learned from you was when I was walking into these different pageants. Now you can imagine going into a pageant is a little intimidating, because you have 50 to 70 women in this room that are talented, beautiful, well-spoken. And it is daunting, because you immediately start thinking in your head, I am not worthy. Like, why am I here surrounded by these other women that have all of these skills? And you start downplaying your God-given gifts and what you've worked so hard for. And I remember one of the things that you taught me is, when I walk in that room, don't look at another woman and think, okay, she is beautiful, she has all these things, therefore I don't. It's, she has this, I'm going to cheer her on. That's amazing. But she's an apple, I'm an orange. We're all different and beautiful in the way that God made us. And I think that really helped me. And I can go into a story on that, but it really helped me, especially going into Miss Texas. And then again at Miss Florida, like walking into Miss Florida, I saw the most beautiful woman. She's very tall, dark, long, just gorgeous, glowing. And I remember thinking that. And then I immediately thought, Monique, you've got this. You know, you have gifts that other people in this room might not have. And that year was the third year competing at Miss Florida, and I ended up winning. But I think if I would have gotten in my head in that moment and allowed it to take over for the rest of the weekend, I think the outcome would have been very, very different.
Troy, what questions do you have for Monique?
Oh, the question I want to ask is the one that a lot of people ask, which is, when we have relationships with clients over the years, you know, many of them compete and then they go on to other things in life. And the question that always comes up is, okay, so how do you use the tools that we worked on during competition now in other areas and facets of your life?
Oh, good question. Well, one of the things that I would say is, when I started trying to get, I almost said audition, but when I started trying to get a job in pharmaceutical sales, normally you have to go into B2B sales, go selling cars or FedExes or, a lot of different things like that before you can get into pharmaceutical sales, which is medical sales. And I remember interviewing for that job, and I had to have that mental toughness going in. I was fresh out of college, which normally doesn't happen, fresh out of college, getting an interview like that. And I think having that calm under the pressure in that moment really helped me in that interview. And I landed the job first try, which is amazing, doesn't happen, and just all the stars aligned in that moment. But I attribute that to all of the years of preparation going into an interview, knowing how to stay calm under pressure, knowing my thoughts, knowing my ideas when I walked in. And even my manager, who, like the lady that was interviewing me, who later became my manager, said, man, I need to hire more pageant girls, because we were able to get in front of doctors and speak to them about the medical products, you know, on a similar level. I mean, I am not a doctor. I do not have that educational background, but I still have the confidence to be able to stand in front of a doctor and present my products. And I think that comes back to having that mental toughness to be able to walk into an environment that you might not feel as comfortable in, but you have that confidence in yourself to be able to handle the challenge.
What was the difference between, so you've held the title of Miss Texas America in 2014, and then Miss Florida USA, was it 2020 or 2019? What year?
2020.
2020.
Yeah.
So you,
but it became a year and a half.
Oh, that's right.
Longest reigning. That is my claim to fame there, because of the whole COVID thing. Yeah, 2020.
So what was for you the differences maybe between competing at Miss USA versus Miss America?
One of the biggest differences was where I was in my life. So when I competed at Miss Texas, I competed over the course of 4 years. And I always say the first year I competed, I got 8th place. I was really rocking. The second year, I dropped down to 11th place. So I was thinking, okay, we're going in the wrong direction. Third year, I came back and competed, and I placed 16th place. So I was like, and that's when I had to really pull out those mental management cards to get ready for the 4th year, because I couldn't let those other years define me. And it was the 4th year, went back and ended up winning. But I was in college. I didn't know what I wanted to do in my future. I feel like I didn't truly know who I was. I was in a moment where I was almost trying to use the title to figure out who I was. And I think that was one of the biggest differences between the Texas America system and the USA system. I mean, of course, Texas America also had a talent portion of competition, ballet, which is my favorite thing ever. And it also had a 10-minute interview in comparison to the Miss USA system, which has about a 2 to 3 minute interview. I think they've extended it at the national level to 7 minutes. And they don't have a talent portion of competition. Also, the walk and everything is a little bit more, I'd say, sultry. You got to work it a little differently. But when I competed at Miss Florida USA, I competed there over 3 years. I placed second runner-up first year. Next year, I placed second runner-up. So let me tell you, going into that third year, when I got into the top 5, I was standing there, and I didn't care if I got third runner-up or first runner-up. I just didn't want to get second runner-up again. So I remember standing there, and when they hit second runner-up, I was like, please, not second runner-up, anything but. And I ended up winning it that year. But I think a big part of that was, again, the time of my life. I had already graduated college. I had a career. I had actually found my now husband. We weren't married at the time, but that always kind of, I don't know, it settled my heart a little bit. But knowing who I was at, how old was I? 27 years old versus 21 or 22. I mean, that's a lifetime, between the two. And I think that was one of the biggest differences, is being able to walk into Florida USA, being grounded a little bit more in who I was, and not feeling like I needed to do things at the national level for other people, if that makes sense. Like going to Miss America, I was wearing certain things. I was saying certain things that I thought I was supposed to say to be successful, versus going to Miss USA as Miss Florida USA. I was a little bit more grounded in who I was, and I felt confident about that. So I didn't want to waver as much from that core, because I knew it more.
So stay true to you.
Amen.
Well, and also
it's so hard, because sometimes you don't know who you are necessarily, but there's that inner voice, and you have to just kind of tap into that and believe that it's okay. It's okay to be you.
I also think that there's a big difference, like you said, 22 to 27. There's a lot of lessons that happen in that 5-year span. And so you might not have been able to tap into what you needed to at 22 the way that you could at 27. And so it's just realizing that you haven't arrived yet at 22.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's so important on a lot of different aspects of life. I mean, not to like go into marriage and that sort of thing. Just got married, so it's like high in my mind. But so often I think when you're trying to find, your soulmate, understanding that you're still growing and developing and trying to figure out who you are when you're also trying to find your soulmate is something I think you need to think about. At least that helped me.
Well, I got good news for you. Your spouse will help you with that for the rest of your life.
Yes.
You never stop learning and growing together.
Right. I know. It's like, what's going to happen, 8 years from now when I'm 35, 38 years old? I'm going to be saying the same thing. I knew nothing when I was 30.
Probably so. Probably so.
Okay, what's
the beauty of life?
I'll throw a curveball at you. I don't know if you have one. Everyone says they don't have one. There's so many, but I'm going to try to have you choose one. Of the principles of mental management, was there one that stuck out the most that you've carried on all these years?
Oh, I mean, the comparison thing has been really big. Another thing that has really stuck out to me is visualization. When competing, I have always, every night before competing for Miss Texas as well as Miss Florida, USA, I would visualize every stage of competition, from walking into the room, the orientation where I saw all the other women. How am I going to, what am I going to think about in that moment? How am I going to stay strong when there's so many amazing women around? When I'm going into interview, what am I thinking before I walk into that door? What do I want the judges knowing? And I interview myself. Very exhausting, let me tell you. Going into swimsuit competition, evening gown competition. Every aspect, to the moment of standing up there with the other girl, holding her hands and then calling my name and feeling that crown sit on my head gives me chills. I remember it, the visualization was so real to me that I would get that response. And I think that is a big part of it, because when I walked on to the Miss Florida USA stage or the Miss USA stage, it was not the first time I got to do it, because I'd done it in my mind so many times before. So this was just another rehearsal almost. The real deal, but I'd been there before. That was probably one of the biggest things that stuck out. And that continues to play into my life. I'm constantly thinking about what I want in this world and trying to plan it out. I think visualizing it, praying for it, working for it is, that's how you get there.
So you're still a ballerina after all of these years. And can you tell us a little bit about that journey and how has that been for you mentally?
Yes. So I started ballet when I was 2 years old. I don't even know what I did while I was 2 years old, but I grew to love the art form. I loved the structure surrounding ballet. I loved the hard work. I loved that you could never reach perfection, even though you tried to attain it. It was never something you could attain. The artistry, being able to listen to the music and move with it. So it captured me at a very young age. By the time I turned 10 years old, I started training 36 hours a week. I didn't have much of a social life at the time. I just went to school and then went straight to ballet and developed that sport. Every summer, I would go away to summer programs and dance 8 hours a day, every day. And I loved it. And then when I went to Texas, I got to compete, in Miss Texas, and ballet was my talent. But all these years, it has always been something that has given me a lot of calm and has really been helpful in other aspects of my life, as far as bringing the energy down. I feel like life can sometimes get pretty stressful, especially when I was working in pharmaceuticals. I was just going. And I needed a moment where there was no talking. There was just the music and that breath. And I feel like mental management and ballet has played together really well for me, because it is the breathing, the calming down, being able to get the energy out somehow. That's what ballet has been for me. And I guess now that I'm thinking about it, ballet is not all that comfortable when you stand on a point shoe, get on your toes. And so it does take a level of mental toughness to kind of push through those moments of discomfort. I feel like oftentimes in life, one of the ways people can become successful is if they're able to defer short-term gratification. And for me, that was ballet. The first day you go into ballet, you're really bad. You can't do the moves. You think that you can walk in and you see all these girls doing turns and jumps, and I mean, you're bad. You can't do it because your body hasn't gotten to that stage. But being able to just put one foot in front of the other, challenging yourself, like, okay, I'm going to do this today. What can I do tomorrow? And allowing yourself to grow organically that way takes a lot of mental toughness and trusting yourself and not comparing yourself, but learning from other girls. So I definitely see how that all plays in to ballet as well, which is, it's really phenomenal that it does that. But yeah, ballet has been something for me that I've absolutely loved. And at 30 years old, I just turned 32, got married, turned 30, bought a house, a lot of life events. But I still love ballet and I still get to perform. And I'm also getting ready for an audition for a company. So things are still moving in that world. So I feel very blessed for that.
Wow. I couldn't do ballet, by the way. There's no way.
No.
You just got to lift the girls, do the moves.
Although I think those bar classes, because they have Pure Barre where you can go and I think we should check one of those out. That would be fun.
No.
I want this video. No. Next podcast.
I think, because my word is active, your word is change. You have like words of the year. So my word is active and his word is change. Well, this would be an active way to change.
I now have a new word called stay. Stay in my lane. I'm not getting into that one.
Oh my goodness.
Monique, do you have a word of the year?
I don't. I need one.
Heather's all about the word of the year.
I don't know. I just decided this year to have a word of the year.
She's all about being active and stuff, and it's motivated her to do things. And so, yeah. But, yeah, I'm not changing I'm not going to go that far to do something that I know I will look bad. If I was younger, if I was 30, that would be different. But at my age now, I cannot imagine how comical that would be. Yeah. That would. Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking forward to this myself.
It could be.
It'll be great.
Yeah, I'm not Herschel Walker. That guy's a unique individual. I don't know if that guy hasn't done. I think he's done everything.
Really?
But he did ballet back in the day as a way to train for football.
I've heard that football players might do it for balance and maybe even core
boxers
strength.
do too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and he thought that really helped him a lot. But then he picked up like at late 40s. I think it was like 48. He picked up MMA and fought a couple of fights in MMA at late years. I mean, that's late for any sport. You're picking up any sport at 48 is. Yeah, he's an amazing guy.
It's incredible. No, the human body is remarkable. We are in Aspen right now, and I haven't gone skiing in 20 years. 20. Mm-hmm. So, of course, I didn't know how I would do when I got out on the slopes. I was very nervous, but somehow the mind remembered, and I'm able to get down the slopes, and I'm not that terrible. But it's remarkable, the human body and the human mind, how powerful they both are, and just leaning into that.
Yeah, well, I got news for you. When you turn 50, the mind doesn't change, but the body definitely does. The body will not stay in sync. Because I thought it was cool when Brian and I were in our 40s. We said, hey, let's go play soccer. We played for years, played for 12 years growing up. Your brain is 4 steps ahead of your body. Next thing you know, you think you're like, oh, I'm about to score a goal, but you're laying down 20 yards behind you because you fell down because you couldn't do a move physically that you used to do 20 years earlier. So, yeah, wait till you wait 10, 15 years from now and then check out that philosophy.
Why didn't y'all ever invite me to watch these games?
There's a reason.
I was just going to say, in ballet, the time that a professional ballerina, that's a female ballerina, stops is around age 35. The sport does not take you very far because of the wear and strain on the body. Male dancers can normally go to about 40 because they're not on point shoes. And going back to what you were saying, Heather, if you continue doing it, and that's one of the things that I've noticed is most women at the age of 30 are not doing ballet to the level that I've been able to do. And I'm not saying that like a pompous thing, but I've been able to consistently go and continue trying to push myself. And every time I go to the ballet studio, I say a little prayer. I'm like, thank you, God, for allowing me to continue to dance. And so I think that is definitely a big part of a big aspect of sports in general, is to try to keep it up even through the ups and downs of life. Because it really does make a difference. And then that mental part where sometimes I'll look at the younger girls and I'll think, oh my goodness, like how are they getting their leg like that? Or how are they doing all these turns? And then I think, you know what? I dance with a maturity.
Do you think that when you decide to have kids, that you will, if you have a daughter, if God blesses you with a daughter, will you put her in dance?
That is such a good question. And something I've thought about with dance as well as with pageantry. And I think I'm just going to do kind of what my parents did. And they put me in a lot of different things. I mean, I did swimming, I did soccer, I did baseball, not so well. I was, sorry, I'm laughing because when I was Miss Texas, I was asked to throw out a baseball pitch and I did not visualize it properly before going to throw out the first pitch at a Rangers game. And the ball completely went to right field. I don't even know. And it became like one of the worst pitches of all time compared to 50 Cent's pitch. So I was laughing about that because maybe they should have put me in baseball a little longer. But with a daughter someday, I definitely just want to throw her into as many different sports and activities so that she can find what she loves and what calls her heart.
Hey, don't worry. Conor McGregor, probably the most physically gifted athletes in modern era, can't throw a baseball.
Ooh, that makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah,
he's amazing.
Watch his pitch that he threw at an opening game. That was quite comical.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you expect these great athletes to be able to do everything, right? And then you throw a baseball, you got different skill level. You know, MMA
and
versus
so
baseball versus
far.
another one.
Well, but
you realize it's a long way.
Monique, I just saw that picture today, actually. And you did it in style. So we're just going to say
Thank
you added
Style
a little
point.
ballet flair to your pitch.
I did.
So-
I did an arabesque because I thought it would be cool to kind of merge the ballet and the baseball. But some people got a little offended. They're like, this isn't bowling and ballet. This is baseball. I'm like, you know what? I tried.
There's no ballet in baseball.
I know.
What's the best advice that through all of the things that you've done, whether it's ballet, pageantry, sales, school, what's the best advice you think you've been given that's helped you?
To focus on positivity, I would say. And there, like we were talking about earlier, there are a lot of ups and downs to life. Like life is not always going to go your way, no matter how hard you visualize that it is going to go your way and how much you plan and prepare. But having a positive attitude is everything. I saw this picture of 3 little kids and they were standing on a podium, and the first place kid had his trophy and was crying. And the third place kid had his trophy in the air and was just having the best time of his life. And it was all about perspective. That third place kid was just so happy to be up there and just living life. And I think that has been something that's really pushed me through a lot of life's ups and downs. Right before I went to compete at Miss USA, it was during COVID. Okay. It was not the typical Miss Florida USA experience that I thought I was going to be signing up for. We were, isolated to our homes. I mean, everybody lived it. I don't want to relive it. But it wasn't the easiest. And even right before I went, I lost a good friend of mine to suicide. She took her life I think it was about 3 weeks before I was leaving for Miss USA. And at the time, my platform was about mental health, focusing on everyday things that we can do to try to boost our mental health, because I believe that we're all on a spectrum, that yes, some people are going to need medication and doctors and that sort of thing, but we all need to take care of our mental health with nutrition, exercise, stress management. So when I learned of her passing, it hit me really hard. And it was just awful, but I was going into Miss USA, and I had 2 choices in that moment: to either allow that to kind of consume me, because I'm telling you, the tears came, it was an emotional time, but then you have to think, once you get through that, you think, okay, what am I going to do with this tragedy? Am I going to allow it just to stay as a tragedy, or am I going to try to do something about it? And so I tried, as I was going into Miss USA, to really focus my energy on other young women that might be feeling that same way and wanting to, do harm to themselves. And I wanted to be a voice for them. Now, of course, there's nothing I can do to, take away somebody else's pain. But if I was able to do one little ounce to bring them a little bit to a place of understanding where they didn't feel that they were alone or the only one struggling with that, then I would feel that I was successful in that job. So focusing on the positivity and trying to figure out how to take things that maybe aren't the best and trying to make them into something that can be somewhat positive, something we can grow from, something we can learn from. And that goes with everything. I mean, I guarantee that everybody listening to this podcast has had those moments where they're just cranky. They've had like a day and they're cranky. They might not know why they're cranky, but they're cranky, and they have two choices. They can either allow that frustration to continue the rest of their day and hurt other relationships and experiences that they might have had, or they can say to themselves, you know what, I'm not going to allow this mood to define the rest of my day. I am going to try to find the blessings. And literally it could be as easy as walking around being like, God, I always think in my head, I'm like, God, thank you so much for the sun. Thank you so much for my family. Like going through and thinking of, no matter how, thank you so much for this sweater. I really like this sweater, whatever it might be, as silly or as substantial, but finding those things that you can be thankful for, it'll help change your day. And that has been one of the biggest impacts for me, is that mind focus. Is it's powerful. You can change it however you want. You can stay in the cranky mood, or you can try to be a more positive light to the world.
Okay, that explains why Freedom Flight's her favorite. It's
impactful. I love that book.
So what do you like most about it?
Well, I loved the military background and how I just am a big fan of the military and very nationalistic and Americana, But the fact that even when he was trapped overseas in it was a little bamboo cage, right? Even in that moment, he thought, okay, what am I going to do with my time? Am I going to sit here and just not do anything? Or am I going to start thinking of something enjoyable? And he thought about golfing. And so that always makes me think of ballet, because I'll do the same thing if I have a new ballet choreography. I'll kind of think about every aspect and every step of it at night. And so I feel like that's what he did in that really harsh environment, was think about golfing. And it's remarkable, when he got back to the States after being a prisoner of war for so many years, got back and went golfing, and he was pretty good. So I love that visualization and that aspect of it. And I just think he was remarkable.
I think it's one of those things where if we can't control our environment, but we can control what we choose to focus on. And we don't have to focus on being uncomfortable. We don't have to focus on what's negative in our surroundings. We can focus on what we choose to. And that's pretty powerful. You can only think of one thing at a time, so you might as well choose your thoughts wisely.
And they grow. I know you've talked to me about this a lot, but those thoughts grow. Like what you focus on kind of becomes who you are. I mean, even in, relationships with people, sometimes, in your mind, you can think, oh, why are they like this? Yeah, da, 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 da. And you can like downplay who they are. But if you tell yourself, no, like that person is a great person because of X, Y, and Z, and like focus on those positives, like all of a sudden you can see that relationship growing and just life becoming better because you're focusing on the positives, not the negatives. Life's too short to focus on the negatives.
I agree. I think we should always focus on the positives in each other and in ourselves.
Yes,
for sure. So what's next for you? I know you just got married. You're
yes.
auditioning. So you're hoping to get on a ballet company. What else is in your future?
Well, so in life, I did ballet for so many years. Then I went to college. I got that degree in Nutritional Science, pre-med from the University of Texas. Did that. Competed at Miss Texas. Did that. Got my pharmaceutical career going. Then, went on to become Miss Florida USA. But this whole time in my life, my passion, the thing that has called my heart time and time and time again, has been ballet. And so it feels like a little bit of a last last effort to be able to try to do something in the ballet world. And so who knows? They might tell me like, oh, you're too old. Like normally we hire the 16-year-olds, you're 30. But I mean, there's nothing to lose at this point. We just moved to Palm Beach. We bought a home in Palm Beach. I'm going to be competing or auditioning for Palm Beach Ballet. So it's right up the street. And I thought, you know what? If not now, when am I going to do it? Mm-hmm. So I'm in a really wonderful place now with my husband that, he sells cars and watches, and I'm just so proud of him and what he does. And so I support him by running errands and cooking and cleaning and, things like that. But this just feels like a wonderful last opportunity to be able to audition and get into a company at this stage of my life. And I just didn't want time to go by. And, when I'm 40 years old, look back and think, why didn't you at least try? Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm just going to go try and we'll see what happens.
It's never too late to chase your dream.
Exactly. Because for such a long period of time, I've had all these other goals and things I've wanted to do. And, ballerinas don't get paid very much. And so it's quite difficult to survive and be a ballerina. And so, yes, I went to college and I went to the pharmaceutical route to be able to support myself. But yeah, right now is like a very rare opportunity. So might as well give it a try.
One more quick thing, because I don't know if Troy knows this little tidbit about you, but you actually, when you were Miss Texas America, you made history, didn't you?
I did. So I did 470 events as Miss Texas back in 2014. I had a goal to have the most events of any Miss Texas of all time. And the main reason behind that is I believed in the program so much that I wanted to get out and meet as many people as possible so they could learn about the program. At the time, I was talking a lot about heart health and, again, nutrition, exercise, stress management. I mean, this stuff I've been talking about for 10 years. But I wanted to get out to as many people to talk about these things. And I set that as a goal for myself, and we succeeded. We had a whole team that made it happen. It's Susan Schuler and everybody that made that goal happen. But I was exhausted by the end of the year. I think one of the days I did 12 appearances in one day. I was like the top day. Yeah, there was a breakfast, there was a hospital opening, there's a luncheon, there's an afternoon tea, a dinner. It was 12. I went to multiple schools that day. It was, I felt so bad for my traveling companion too, because after the event, all the events, I'd been giving so much of myself. And as a natural introvert, that's not the easiest thing to do. My energy levels kind of waver. And I had a traveling companion that would, drive the car and was with me just to keep me safe. And at the end of the day, we went back to the hotel and she wanted to sit down and chat about the whole day. And I went into the room and I was like, I'm so sorry. And I just closed the door. I was like, I can't. But it was quite the year.
That's so cool. What's your advice to someone who wants to be able to do that?
To give up the energy?
Either to accomplish a goal like that, whether it's as Miss Texas or otherwise. I'm going to have you have closing remarks on what's the advice to get through a year like that.
The advice would be to have a plan. I am a big fan of having a journal. And so I will write down a lists of lists. It's a little ridiculous, but I'll write down my goals, this month. What are my goals this month? I would say to be very organized about it and then figure out what your goal is and what you need to do to succeed at that goal and make a list for it, and make time in your schedule to do it. I think that's the biggest thing for me, as far as reaching my dreams or reaching those goals, would be to have a plan. Because if you don't have a plan, you can't get there. And then the other thing is to surround yourself with people that are going to help you get there. Heather, you've been such a godsend to me for all these years. I remember just like opening up to you whenever we would talk, you're like, okay, this is happening. How can I get through it? Having mentors in your life that can help you, because you can't do it on your own. You need to have your team, your group together, to be able to make those dreams a reality.
Awesome. So we need to have a plan. We need to have a support system. If you're working on a goal, continue to work those skills so that you can build them, so you can trust them, so that you can rely on them, so that you can accomplish whatever you want to. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Subscribe to our channel. And if you like what we have to say, go ahead and hit that like button, share it with someone else, and join our Patreon membership. We're going to spend a little more time talking to Monique about some ways in which she's utilized middle management in a more concrete way. And we're going to post that on our Patreon. Thank you.